So welcome. Yeah, dogs always need poetry. Kyle, I agree. So welcome, you guys. Welcome everyone to this reading. I am so excited to be here. Thank you, Chevaliers, for hosting us. I am Donna Spruijt-Metz. I'm going to be saying silly things in between readings, and that seems to be my job. I am the Ministry of Silly Things. And I have these four fantastic poets tonight to introduce, and I'm so honored to be here and to be shepherding their work all out into the world. So we're going to start tonight with Sonia Gutierrez, haha. And she is the recipient of the Tomas River Book Award 2021 for her novel Dreaming with Mariposas. That's Flower Song Press, and that's the same press as Angelina, who's going to be reading soon. But she's going to be reading from a poetry book of hers, Spider Woman. And I think you're also going to be, are you going to be reading for your forthcoming book?
Yes.
Very exciting. Her bilingual poetry collection, Paper Birds, Feather by Father, is forthcoming in 2022. So that is really, really exciting. So let us first welcome Sonia Gutierrez. So pleased to have you. And I cede the floor.
Thank you so much, Donna. Something just fell in the room, and nothing should be falling in the room. So I believe it's probably the spirits that are here with me. So I want to dedicate these two poems to our Poet Laureate of Los Angeles. Thank you so much for being you. And my flag. My flag. My flag is the color of flora, of yellows, crisp and dry greens, and of a bright pinks. They are the little faces of flowers and buds too soon smile. My flag is the color of fauna, of creamy and dark hues, and of a radiant greenish blue chest. It is the restless gallop stirring dust and the feathered heart-rending scream. My flag is the color of water, clear, embracing me with its arms without fighting over skin color. In it, I laugh, I rejoice, I sing, I cry, and I feel loved again. My flag is not the color of a red stream of spilled blood from my Palestinian brother, from my African sister, from my white brother, from my two-spirit sister and brother, from my Chinese sister, and from my thirsty brother. My flag is the swaying of a hand and a handkerchief, like a wounded messenger bird searching for a mount of hope, offering peace and liberty. I want to dedicate a second poem for Lynn. It's the last poem in the Spider Woman collection. Ta-da. So that's my first one. Entrenched. Entrenched, earth propels the palms of my feet, and I walk arm in arm with nature all around me. Entrenched, I spread my arms mercifully and I fly past the walls of prejudice, longing to live the dream. Entrenched, I spin spiral webs, catching rainbows, rainbows, rainbows in full glee. Entrenched, I wake, labor, and rise until the small universe of mine whispers, no more. So that's from the Spider Woman collection. And so I want to read from the Dreaming with Mariposas, their vignettes. And because I'm a poet, you're going to find poetic diction throughout the novel. Dreaming with Aurora. Ay, qué bonito es volar a las 2 de la mañana. A las 2 de la mañana. Ay, qué bonito es volar Ay, mamá, la bruja. It was November, in the time of memories and dreams. She wore her long black hair down over her shoulders, and her favorite gown touched her calves. Her bare feet were dry like the desert dust, craving for a drop of water. Under the chirimoya tree, she sat on a concrete bench for a few minutes while she took in her surroundings that looked like her home, and then continued on her journey. She saw the rabbit on the moon peer through the tall almond tree heavy with flowers. Its leaves glistened and danced feverishly as she passed by. Even though the smell of eucalyptic trees permeated the backyard, she couldn't smell it as much as she tried. Something else called her, a smell more powerful, the smell of the bright orange Simplasuchi flower. In the morning, I woke up, confident my abuelita had visited her altar. Both Paloma and I had set up for her the night before. I sat on my bed, recollecting the dream, then rose to my feet and stared out the window. I dreamt I was walking. No, I was floating like a llorona, but wasn't sure if the woman in my dream was Abuelita Aurora, la bruja, or la llorona. It was November, and the time, ay de mi llorona, 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 llévame al río. Tápame con tu rebozo, llorona, porque me muero de frío. So that was an excerpt from the vignette. It's dedicated to a grandmother I never met. And I want to show you a picture of my grandma that I included in the novel. And she's a very inspirational woman in my life, somebody who I never met, but allows me to imagine what she was like. And to conclude, I want to read from Paper Birds, Feather by Feather. And this one is called An American Landscape. An American Landscape. On a chilly February night, under a star-spangled sky, Trayvon, you stayed warm, fastened like a monk in a Rembrandt painting. As you talked to your girlfriend, your words sugared with purple, green, yellow, and the red of your youth, took a cloak past, when in the distance, a man's 400-year-old gaze, clouded with a history, hanging with strange fruit, set its eyes on you. As you walk through invisible marked streets, those pair of cutout holes carried a holstered pistol, preyed on someone like you. And you ran and wrestled for freedom in this American landscape, looking for a place to take root and extend your long, lean branches, reaching for a limitless sky. But one bullet gnawed your heart and turned your fingernails blue. Those cutout holes could never hear you. Stop following me, nor could they ever see the prime green 17 of your youth. Against a historical American backdrop where saplings are lost, a little man saw an American TV monster mightier than himself. And the only thing that little man could do was reach for the trigger. Too late to learn your pockets were stuffed with dreams of you, Trayvon, wearing a pilot hat, flying through wistful blue skies, not pearls, not diamonds, nor gold rings. So Trayvon, spirit left. Well, his spirit is still alive, but on the 26th. And so my birthday is on February 27th. And I felt very guilty, living. And this young man was robbed of his life. So every year, I always remembered, and as we do as poets, we give life through poetry. And I would like to conclude this poem dedicated to all of us, because this is what we do as poets. Doors. There are doors that open on their own, but there are other doors that, even though they are crumbling, they are locked under invisible triple locks. Their keys are at the bottom of the ocean floor, surrounded by white sharks. Those doors do not attempt to open on whims or with blows. Instead, roll up your sleeves, build doors with paints and brushes, nails and a hammer, or with the magic wand of your imagination. And one day, you will suddenly see foundations with friendly doors greet you. You will enter, turn back, and see from afar those ancient doors only have a few borrowed centuries left. Thank you so much, Chevalier's Bookstore. It's an honor to be here with all of you. It's a historical day, and thank you for including me.
So wonderful. What a beautiful, beautiful reading. Thank you so much. Beautiful singing too, just gorgeous. Everybody use the chat for chatting and saying wonderful things about Sonia and her work. And if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them at the end. Yes, Andrea, you're right. You honor us, Sonia. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I am very excited to introduce Nan Cohen, who did not look at the private chat that I sent her. So I just can tell truth. So Nan is the author of 2 poetry collections, Rope Bridge and Unfinished City, winner of the Michael Dryden Award from Gunpowder Press, and a just published chapbook from the 1,000-Year-Old Words, it's called, from Glass Lear Press. And she'll show us the cover, I bet. And she's had an NEA award. She's been a Wallace Stegner Fellow. She's a very important human, but she's a very important human to me. And a shout out to Laura, and who's also in attendance tonight, and to Nan for being, in such important poets in my life and who have read so much of my work. So I am really excited to be able to MC this event where Nan debuts her 1,000-Year-Old Words chapbook. So welcome, Nan Cohen. Gosh darn.
Donna, thank you so much. I just saw the private chat, and the answer is, of course, it's okay to say how important I am to you because you're so important to me. And it's true, you and Laura Hogan saw almost every poem in this new chapbook, 1,000-Year-Old Words, over the course of the pandemic. Some of the poems had been written earlier, but it's very much a pandemic project. So thank you, Donna, so much for gathering us, Cyan and Chevaliers for hosting. And of course, it's a real honor to read with Angelina, Sonia, and Lynn tonight. So this chapbook is a group of poems that came out of a book manuscript that I've been working on for several, possibly more than several years. Like a lot of poets, probably most poets, maybe all poets, I'm obsessed with time. And I think of the oldest words in English as being like time travelers. 1,000-Year-Old Words are the little words, the oldest words in English. There are many of them that kind of hold together the language, like the word I, right? We might say it dozens, hundreds of times a day, so much that it kind of disappears from our attention. And other words that have changed really very little since like the 10th century CE, like hand and child and table. So these are mostly quite short, and I'm mostly not going to introduce them. I think I'll just say about the second poem, Cleave, that it has the phrase in it, a Janus word. A Janus word is like the Roman god Janus with the two faces, whose name gives us the word January. It's a word that is also its own opposite, like the word fast, which can mean to move very quickly, but it can also mean to like stay tightly holding something. So the poem, the word cleave is a Janus word. So we'll know it when I say it. I'll start with the word shimmer. 1,000-year-old word is a needle pulling a thread that is centuries long. 1,000-year-old word wraps itself around a quality of light, and like light itself seems ageless, untouched by time. Light travels through imperfect glass into darkened rooms, but moves with the same vigor. A word may have taken in a trembling it did not have 1,000 years ago, but all we can know is how it shimmers now, wrapping itself around the ageless light. It was how light found him. The shimmer was the light's surprise. And now of all the words I cast toward the place he once appeared, this is the one that wraps itself around that emptiness, that absence where he stood. Cleave. A Janus word, it looks both ways, and its faces are bound at the back of the head. Some of its synonyms, fierce Anglo-Saxon verbs, hew, chop, sever, rive. Some of its synonyms, Latinate, adhere, remain, but some are old in English, hold and cling. When I think of it, I think first of a hatchet descending in an arc to sever a thigh from a chicken and bury its edge in wood. And only after of two joining hands, fingers interlaced down to the webbing, two bodies joined like split sticks. The two meanings align at the seam, saying anything whole can be halved, saying what is divided is not parted forever, despite the blow, the stroke, the sundering. Loss. 1,000-year-old word is loosening too. The human hand opens eventually, lets go of what it held. 1,000-year-old word escapes the mouth. The L rolls off the tongue. The vowel splays wide. Awe, the teeth close on a hiss, on nothing. Home. The throat shuts. A small emptiness opens. 1,000-year-old word is a bite of air, the thing itself and the loss of it. Like the door to a place we used to live, the old paint peeling or repainted green. Haunt comes from home. It's where the ghost goes. I was thinking of this poem in Sonia's, when I was hearing Sonia's beautiful last poem with all the doors, and I forgot there was also a door in that previous poem. But this one is kind of also a poem of connection, like Sonia's, among people. It's called Soul. Of these poems, David asks, who is the we? And I am stopped. This is a holy question. For I had forgotten the small, the humble words that hold language together, like the hand-forged nails that held pieces of wood in the shapes of window frames through which, at any moment in 1,000 years, someone might look to see someone coming up the path to the door. This is a cinquain, a poem of 5-line stanzas in a pattern. This is called Table. What we never told each other hung in the air between us as much as any other words we spoke, while what was off the table, I see now, was always on it, a dish of salt between our plates we could have dipped into. Forgive me, we shared so much else. Forgive that I break our silence without you. Time rewrites memories, so while I can, I'll say, though we always had to leave some on the table, I loved drinking secrets, eating histories with you. Laughter. A 1,000-year-old word is like breath, a hot exhalation, and laughter a part of the human atmosphere, even in grief, in pain. It wasn't all serious, or if it was funny sometimes too. The two things not exclusive, the best jokes are serious. Even after it stopped being distraction, a promise, it remained reassuring. And the glances that pass between two laughing people, how they link us, even now. This is a really short poem called Long. Long. As I poke a yardstick underneath the stove to retrieve a kernel of corn that skittered there, your name, unbidden, is spoken in my mind. That private whisper of what we long for, across distances, across a span of time. 1,000 years, one word has served them both, that yearning and the length we learn across. The length we yearn across. Here's the poem about the word I. I can't see the blood rising through the hollow needle until it begins to fill the tube. Nor can I see the air becoming breath as it's drawn into the lungs, imagined as two flaccid balloons inflating around the heart. Or becoming air again, unless I were to stand close to a mirror, see a soft cloud form on the glass. Considering this body, how I might know and not know what it contains. Considering this word, another container, standing upright on a base, head open to be filled. And two more. Thought. Learning to meditate, I imagine my mind like a balloon at the end of a string. And, eyes closed, try holding it, not in a fist, a child's grip, both tight and insecure, but easily answering its lift and bob with my body's wordless gravity. Yet, as a child myself, it was easy to lie back against the earth with not just my eyes, but my mouth, my nose, my belly and chest, knees, throbbing heart, the whole front of me, looking up at the sky, home of God, receiver of lost balloons. And the last one, with many thanks and special love to somebody who's attending, you know who you are. And so many thanks to Donna and Cyan and everybody. And thank you for coming. Love. You can hold in your mouth a 1,000-year-old word. Have you ever handled an artifact that old? Metal bitten by sand, wood rotted away. In the Egyptian wing, I thought I would like to hold a shabti, a humble grave figure of pottery. In my mouth, this word, love. How can we fear it does not mean the same? Thank you.
Wonderful reading, Nan. Thank you so much. Oh, I just love those poems. They're amazing. They are amazing. So groove on the chat and all the love you're getting. Because unfortunately we have to move on because we've got this other, amazing poet waiting in the wings. So chat away, you guys. Yes, because I get to introduce Angelina Sáenz. I fell in love with Angelina how many years ago? When I can tell this because it says right
2017, 18.
Got your MFA. I heard her read right before her MFA at Otis, where I also went, and just thought, this is the woman of the hour. This is the woman. And we've been friends ever since. And it's just been so exciting to watch her grow in poetry. And I am really excited that she's here. She is an award-winning public school teacher and a poet whose work focuses on memory, mujeres, and motherhood. Yes, I wanted to say that. She's a UCLA Writing Project Fellow, an alumna from the Vona Voices Workshop of Writers of Color, and a Macondo Writers Workshop Fellow. This new collection, her debut poetry, Edgecliff, was released just recently, December 2021, with Flower Song Press. And it's an amazing book, and you guys are in for a wild ride tonight. And I cede the floor. Angelina, I'm so excited to hear you read.
Thank you so much, Donna, for inviting me to read, and thank you to my co-readers for being here. Thank you to Chevalier Books for hosting this reading. And I actually wish this reading was in person because it would mean a lot to me to be in Largemont Village. I spent the 80s running around there because my mother managed Pacific Fish Market on Melrose and Lucerne across from what used to be the Grandia Room. So I don't know if there's anyone in the audience from the 80s that lived in that area, but I hung out there a lot during elementary school, which brings me to Edgecliff. I am a daughter of the city, Los Angeles. I grew up in Silver Lake. Hollywood was the backdrop of our lives. And while the narrative of poor immigrant and working class communities has never featured in Hollywood, we were front and center of our own experience. And it was a world of addiction, incarceration, gun violence, abuse, and hunger. Ronald Reagan was president, and that's where this tremendous civic neglect began, at least in my experience. I was a student with LA Unified. We had a 50% dropout rate for Latinos, and police abuse and occupation by LAPD was rampant. So there were hundreds of thousands of us kids swept up in all of this in the 70s and 80s. And this is a book of poems about that childhood and about what became of one of those kids, me. So thank you for listening. Second shift. Canvas bag, teacher mom. I sigh through front door. Sons kick off shoes and toss backpacks. They flop on sectional and fall asleep. I start fireplace. Hostile MFA class in 2 hours. Manuscript spilling out of my backpack reminds me. Change into stretchy pants and faded Obama t-shirt. Lady and Coco skid around me. I pinch up their shit and wipe up their piss. Review homework folders, preheat oven to 375. Decide on chicken broth or milk to soften 16 frozen mashed potato medallions. Feet up, I eat the other half of my leftover carne asada burrito. Outside, I see dense slate storm clouds gather. Big boy. From jump, you were the brick, then the cinder block. Now you're the wall. 25 pounds at 3 months. Dr. Fly said, only give this baby your milk until further notice. At 9 months, abuelita said, ¿Solo le has dado de tu leche? Sí. Hoy le vamos a dar de comer y beber. She prepared worn plastic sippy cup with water, tenderly peeled frijoles de la olla. Tú estabas encantado. In preschool, your teachers swore you were naughty. Your 2-year-old body would run to hug your buddies and you'd knock them the fuck down. They'd bawl their eyes out. A psychologist was called in to evaluate you. She told them you were beautiful, and to stop fucking confiscating the Thomas the Train you kept in your pocket. Thick chose you, inhabits your broad shoulders. Thank you, t-shirt shop on Figueroa and York that sells Dickies husky size, the only pants that fit you. When you met Grandpa, when I reunited with him after 23 years, you said, Mama, I look like Grandpa. That's where I get my body from. First day of MFA. Professor and I, only ones above 30. Photographer says, faculty ID for you? No, I'm a student here. Mental note, old white man professor assigns old white men to read. Classmates know shit to references I don't. Fuck you, Shakespeare, and fuck me for having never read The Tempest. Someone asks, what's the word for people who don't like other people en masse? I say sociopath. They all look at me. Another student says misanthrope. They all nod. Discuss Jack Spicer's letters to Lorca. I ask, did Lorca really say that? Pause. This is a fictitious exchange between Spicer and Lorca Angelina. Lorca had been dead for 30 years when this was written. I'm an asshole. Someone made a mistake in accepting me into this program. So this book is in 3 parts. 1 and 3 is about my adult life, and the middle is about my childhood. So I'm going to read a few poems from the middle part. 963 Edgecliff Drive. And this is the book, Edgecliff. Single mothers on welfare oasis. 30 apartments organized around zigzagging staircases where we played tag, leafy patio corners where we put on puppet shows, bridges leading to solitary landings and pebble gardens, Mediterranean ambience in the middle of the city, Josie screaming, Donna rana my rampas, vowing to tell our mothers we were being bad. Sparkling swimming pool overlooking Bellevue Park was the childcare for an army of latchkey kids. Within 5 years, cement was poured into every corner that mattered to us. They poured cement starting with the planters, then moved to the gardens, and last was the pool. Concrete landscape sealed our destiny of death and loss to come. You on our dirty ass couch, glass of water and your muumuu dress gathered between your legs, comb and a shitload of rollers off to the side, front door wide open as Don Cornelius serenades introduction of the SOS band. You know you want to slow down. You've been working too hard and that's a fact. You part sections of your hair with precision, no mirror. Dip your comb into the water, bring up a whole section like a tidal wave, bring the whole thing down, snug against your scalp. Take some time to laugh and smile. Lay your heavy load down so we can stop and kick back. Neighbors come in and out with their coffee mugs. You shake your comb high in the air, finger popping between your tasks until your whole head is covered in pink sponges. Dark night, 11 p.m., your drunk friends show up at the house. Where's my mom? They can't tell me. I speed walk through Bellevue Park toward Jade Garden Restaurant. You must be between the park and Droopy's house. I find you, face down on the sidewalk, passed out. Sit next to you, wait for you to wake up. 3 more. 2 a.m. Wednesday, July 29th, 1981. Front door open to cool dawn. Neighbors appear with matrimonial offerings. Mom provides the coffee. It is Princess Diana's wedding. Brown, black, white, single, food stamp mothers riveted as Diana waves from glass carriage, veiled, stoic, chiseled jaw, and blonde feathered hair framed. They hold their breath as Diana's 25-foot-long wedding gown train is dreamily arranged at the mouth of Westminster Abbey. Camera zooms into terrified radiance. She is only a few years younger than all of them, but they talk about her as if she were their daughter. Sweeping camera shots of central London, Thames, Tower Bridge. None of the women in my living room will ever know these places, but I will. Two more poems. Dear professors, all of you fuckers, thank you for your emails stating how disappointed you are in me and your workshop notes about how you don't see poetry in my poetry. I wrote you back requesting a meeting, and in that meeting, I explained I'm a single mom. I've never studied literature. I have homeless family members living with me, that I do all my writing between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., that I teach kindergarten all day and then commute 2 hours to you, that my son is suicidal, that I am broke, that I am a first-generation college student, that I have to talk myself out of dropping out every day, that my toxic family dynamics still affect my life, that you add trauma when you nonchalantly talk shit, AKA give me feedback about my work, which is the story of my people, of my mother, of my ancestors, of the kids that I grew up with who ended up murdered in prison or on drugs, of my perpetual grief, and that whatever the fuck I give you is an offering of my life and sacrifice. You just look at me from across the table with your stupid stare and say, how would I know all that? This is the last one. I come from a place where all we knew was to be ghetto fabulous and together. Before you start taking out your pinche black and white photos of your tatarabuelo de Francia con sus ojos verdes and your bisabuela Eugenia from the Tarahumara tribe, no, I don't have a single goddamn picture to show you of my ancestors. Before you pull out your map showing me where Fulano boarded his boat in the Bay of Biscay, arriving in your mother's hometown in Zacatecas, or the pueblo that 4 generations of your gente were born into, know that my mother was born in the Nayarit jungle to my 14-year-old grandmother, and no one can say who the father is, and that I may not even be a Padilla porque mi bisabuela era puta. And there is no judgment there. Before you tell me of caps and gowns, cheerleaders and jocks, and that you were voted most likely to succeed, no, I come from a place of flunking fools, 0.0 grade point averages. Before you share your tips about the bands playing in Echo Park, or the best ramen in Silver Lake, or how Hollywood is now called the East Side, no, my muerto's blood pooled on your corners as men masturbated in their cars on Sunset, and my mother lay face down, intoxicated on the Lucille midnight sidewalk. Thank you.
Fantastic reading. Thank you so, so much. You know, I love that book. Yes, I do. All right. We have one more poet tonight. I wonder who that is. Oh, wait, I know. It's Lynne Thompson, our Poet Laureate of Los Angeles. When I first came out as a poet, I guess you would say. In Los Angeles, Lynn was so gracious and so warm to me. She is such, I'm missing a word in English, ambassador for poetry, there you go. And such a fine poet. And we're really honored to have her as our closing act tonight. She is the Poet Laureate of Los Angeles. She's the author of Start with a Small Guitar and Beg No Pardon, winner of the Perugia Book Award and the Great Lakes Los Angeles Association New Writers Award, as well as Fretwork, which is one of my favorites, winners of the Marsh Hawk Poetry Prize. She serves on boards of Cave Comment and the Los Angeles Review of Books, so she's also a major literary citizen. And welcome, Lynn. Can't wait to hear you.
Thanks so much, Donna, and thank you for inviting me. I'm just blown away by these amazing women and so honored to read with Nan and Angelina and Sonia. You guys are just like sizzling hot. Thank you to Chevalier's Books for having us. You know, as I was listening to this, I had to make a sudden change in my reading. So Donna, make sure and give me that if I go too long, because I've tried to change it up. Because when Sonia started by honoring me in the way that she did, I was so moved, and I have to return the favor to her. And the poem I immediately thought of to read for her is this one that's called Raffia. And it's a glossa. I won't go into a lot of details. You'll be able to hear the repetition in the poem. It has an epigraph by the Nigerian poet Chris Abani. To the Igbo, everything is family. Everything is connected, grandmother explained. Like the weave of this raffia hat, we intertwine. See, this is the world to the Igbo. To the Igbo, everything is family, everything, be it small or grand, whether you look like I do or look otherwise, whether you can sing or have no voice at all. In all of nature, moon, fish, elephant tusks, the silkworm and its kin, no essential distinctions can be made. Those who discriminate bring dishonor to our house, perpetuate the shame we never want to admit. When singled out, we wilt needlessly. Relatively speaking, everyone is connected, grandmother explained. We bleed the blood of both Aborigine and Inca. Our imagination doesn't strain under ice plains or inside the heat of the Gobi or any other desert. At the thought, we all advance slow as turtles, but we advance as one. And those who cannot must be saved like grains of rice fallen from the rice pot. When we refuse, we're doomed to sever the natural connection that makes us humane and proves that, like the weave of this raffia hat, we intertwine. The lock of your blonde hair braided with my dark lock, your breathing identical to mine. Where is there a line separating the clouds showering our cities? Even the caesura between twilight and nightshade can't be assigned with precision. All of history is a sign that we learn and fail again at the very same rate. That I hold the tether and decide each bend in the path your sheep will take. Don't you see? This is the world to the Igbo. To think otherwise is to dwell in double doubt. To live otherwise is to live where there is no point in leaving your tent. This is not difficult. This won't fill your basket with cola nut. This is a story to be read by us all every day. We all have a grandmother who's confirmed it, so you cannot say it isn't so. Some young Igbo from a tribe near your village are awaiting your call. Their breath is indistinguishable from yours. So that is more hopeful than the reading I originally put together, which was one that I shaped around how I've been feeling about our physical world and what us humans have done to the physical world. So these poems really speak to that. This first one is an Abecedarian. For those of you who listen carefully, you'll hear it. Call it havoc. as every step you take is clutch and coffin. Believe me, baby bent on starshine, you're crazy if you think you can get away by train. Doubts your best depend upon it, especially when it was only a few days ago when you cast bread with glee and hope on a mirage. Here's a news flash. We're all chumps. Ignore the fact we live in cities of the already dead. Justice, just a fairy tale. Kingdoms bellicose, love sick in these times of unloving. Oh yes, we're all mules. We are freak shows with mechanical limbs, neither owners nor mortgagees. On our rutted cheeks, the war paint of civilizations we never quite remember. So we pump the trombones, ziff the zithers, twirl amidst the ashes and tractor parts. Under a mad magnificence, our violence spans centuries, wreaks havoc in suddenly shuttered towns. Shenzhen, Zawiya, Khartoum, and you already know what else will be lost. The river Zuni's blue-head suckers, lifeless in this sag of bedrock. And I'm reading this particularly for Chevalier since it is, as somebody said earlier, Hancock Park adjacent. Los volcanes de Brea, microfossils, primordial woods, insects, mollusks, seeds, and pollen grains, covering the asphaltum, dust, leaves, water, old bones that darken the pit. Rancho La Brea, once a salt mine, now Hancock Park, is mired with the remains of tens of thousands of years. Found during one expedition, 1769, led by Senor Portola, dire wolves, saber-toothed cats, pill bugs trapped in tar geysers, issuing from land springs, magpies, garter snakes, mammoths, scimitar cats. Well kept, a trace of the La Brea woman who probably suffered a violent death at 18 or 20, ritually interred with dog. Also found falcons, ragweed, one Andalusian. Seeking paradise. Don't tell me how I came to be born by a river. Instead, won't you bring me honeysuckle and applause of Mexican marigolds? Tell me it's true Stardust bequeaths its anthems and won't die, so you can bring me a rabanada de cielo that stopped its weeping. Tell me Sam Cooke had it right, singing, "A change is gonna come." But do not tell me about a child who crossed the Rio Grande to come here, but has been lost to her mother, doesn't know when she will eat again. Don't you know this girl will withstand, then, without warning, kill you while you sleep between twisted sheets? I wish you would bring us jalapenos baked into sweet cornbread, and with it some green tomatoes, capers, a subtle Casa Madero. Won't you bring us memories of a dog, a ball, or all of Saturday to do what children want Saturday to do? Why can't you be kind? Why won't you in paradise us? How am I doing on time? Am I good? All right, just 3 more. Duck, Outer Banks, North Carolina, 2016. It may just be these days, passing. Suddenly, everything shares history with a grist of bones not quite buried in sand. The fragrance of Mustangs neighing in high grass, descendants of horses brought here by a Spanish king, is as miraculous as my own gamey scent, harnessed by explorers who tried but failed to tame wildness, then fearful, ran away. But these pure breeds, their numbers waning, pose, content to linger among the cypress stumps and residuum of a 19th century hurricane, the box and snapping turtles, purple martins, keeping their eyes on a hungry boar nearby. We visitors are a chestnut brown mirage turned pensive as the horses, the left behinds, see our nostrils flare in brambles of blueberries, grapes, persimmon. Ebb tide. He said, one day when we are old, and his saying so was pure joy, for even as we savored last summer's berries in our mouths, forced the juice from the pulp with our tongues, we knew one day he will be bent, perhaps away from me, or I will ask him to tally the chain of days we have made, and I'll have to ask him more than once. Then again, it could be he said nothing at all. Perhaps I only saw him rise to open a window to listen to twilight's breeze rustle aspen. And just this morning, didn't he fill a vase of lisianthus with fresh water? And this final one, its opening line comes from Claude McKay's poem, Joy in the Woods. Mood for the country. There is joy in the woods just now, although I don't know how I know it, being born of temper and wavelengths, untutored about the origins of woods, the maple, the ash, the hickory. Still, I hear joy in the woods just now and in the music that is born there, in the Appalachian banjo, or in a cello made of temper and wavelengths, rocking Esperanza Spalding's Land of the Free, tips of her fingers caressing the strings. There is joy in the woods just now, and every show of hands knows it, knows the time to listen is short, as we all will one day succumb to temper and wavelengths, but we know this too. There's a cure to be had in moods, music, under an American chestnut. There is joy in the woods just now, where we are so much more than just temper or wavelengths. Thank you.
Temper and wavelengths, hell yes. Lynn, a fantastic reading, all four of you. This is so much fun to bring together a group like this and just watch it happen. So do people have questions? Do people want a Q&A, or do people just want to sort of take the beauty of this and go off and buy books?
Buy books.
Because if you have Q&As, please let me know. And otherwise, thank you, all four of you, amazing poets and writers. It's been really an honor to get to host this. It's like, this is the best thing. You're just so great. And Cyan and Chevaliers, thank you so much for letting me play in your garden every time again.
Thank you, Donna, for creating the garden with all these beautiful poets.
Yeah, I do got the best. I do got the best poets. That was my duck. Say, your time is up, Lynn.
Hi, everybody. I'll be sending the recording link. If anybody you know wasn't able to make it, it'll be up on our YouTube if they want to hear the talk. Have a good one.
Thank you again, friends. And to the time that we can be together live, and after the reading, we all come to my house for wine.
You got it.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.